strategy in our product. The volatile compounds induce the
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. At least 3 killed and over 87 injured as Israeli airstrikes hit Houthi targets in Yemen a day after Tel Aviv drone attack. Protests continue in Bangladesh over job quota issue. Government declares Sunday and Monday as public holidays. Nearly 1,000 Indian students returned from Bangladesh. Nepal's Prime Minister PM Oli to seek vote of confidence in Parliament on Sunday. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate 46th session of World Heritage Committee at Bharat Mandapam today. Over 2,000 delegates from over 150 countries to attend the meeting. India's government convened an all-party meeting on Sunday ahead of the budget session of Parliament. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju held the meeting of all the floor leaders of all the parties in the Parliament to understand issues they would want to raise during the session. The budget session will begin on Monday and will continue till 12th of next month. Meanwhile, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will present the Union Budget 2024-25 in the Lok Sabha on Tuesday. This is the first budget of the third term of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. Addressing the joint session of both the Houses of Parliament last month, President Draupadi Murmu had said that Budget 2024 will be an effective document of the government's far-reaching policies and futuristic vision. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the 46th session of the World Heritage Committee at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi on Sunday. Prime Minister Modi will address the gathering on the occasion. The meeting will be attended by more than 2,000 delegates from over 150 countries. In a social media post, the Prime Minister said, and I quote him, that this event is an important forum to exchange views on ways to preserve heritage. It's a matter of immense joy that India is hosting the meeting of the World Heritage Committee in New Delhi. This is the first time our nation is hosting this committee. The 46th UNESCO World Heritage Committee meeting, which is to take place in New Delhi from 21st to 31st of July, will witness archaeologists and culture ministers from across the globe descending to India's capital. This prestigious event will be held at Bharat Mandapam, bringing together delegates from around the world to discuss and deliberate on the preservation of cultural and natural heritage sites. Here's a report by our correspondent, Dibyendu Mondal.
The 46th UNESCO World Heritage Committee meeting is set to unfold in the heart of India's capital, New Delhi. This committee meeting is a cornerstone event where experts and delegates from around the globe converge to evaluate the state of existing World Heritage sites and consider new nominations. It is a significant gathering uniting nations in their shared commitment to preserving humanity's most treasured cultural and natural heritage. The process is rigorous, involving detailed assessments and reviews to ensure that only sites of outstanding universal value make it to the prestigious list. In this session, the committee will examine the dossiers of 28 sites proposed for inscription on the World Heritage List. The sites will be examined according to category, natural, mixed and cultural.
इस बैठक में जो अब तक साइट्स ऐसी चुनी गई हैं जिनके बारे में मैंने आपसे निवेदन किया, उनके अपकीप मेंटेनेंस रखरखाव के बारे में तो चर्चा होगी, उनका फर्दर इवैल्यूएशन होगा ही। जहां कमी रही है वहां उसे अलर्ट करने की दिशा में भी अलर्ट्स भी इशू किए जाएंगे, लेकिन साथ साथ ही जो नए डोजियर समिट हुए हैं उनकी समीक्षा होकर के नई ऐतिहासिक वैश्विक धरोहरों को जो है सूचीबद्ध करने का काम भी इस बैठक में होने वाला है।
India proudly boasts 40 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, each telling a unique story of our rich history and natural splendor. From the majestic Taj Mahal in Agra, the architectural marvel of Hampi in Karnataka, to the serene Sundarbans National Park in West Bengal. These sites are a testament to India's diverse heritage. This time, India has nominated the Moidams, the Mount burial system of the Ahom dynasty of Assam, to be inscribed into the prestigious list. UNESCO World Heritage Sites represent the pinnacle of cultural and natural heritage. The first World Heritage Sites were designated in 1978, and since then, the list has grown to include over 1,100 sites globally. However, to get to this list is a meticulous process, followed by rigorous evaluation by expert advisory bodies. Each site should demonstrate outstanding universal value, integrity, and authenticity. The final decision rests with the World Heritage Committee during its annual meeting. Dibyendu Mondal's report for DD India.
3 people were killed and 8 were injured in a landslide near Chirbasa village in Kedarnath in the North Indian state of Uttarakhand on Sunday. 2 people were injured seriously after mud and heavy stones fell from the hill on the Kedarnath Yatra Marg. All the deceased are said to be pilgrims, while one of the seriously injured is a local. Security personnel, including the NDRF and SDRF teams, were deployed and carried out the rescue operations. India's BSF helped in safe evacuation of Indian students amid student protests in Bangladesh. In view of the ongoing student protests in Bangladesh with increasing violence and arson, the government has completely shut down the internet to control the situation. Amid this unrest, many Indian, Nepalese and Bhutanese students studying in various educational institutions in Bangladesh are being sent back to their country. The Border Security Force South Bengal Frontier has set up special help desks to facilitate the safe return of these students. So far, the BSF has successfully assisted in the return of 572 Indian students, 133 Nepalese students and 4 Bhutanese students. Meanwhile, Bangladesh extended curfew on Sunday to control the ongoing unrest in the nation, as the Supreme Court is due to hear appeal against reinstatement of the controversial job quotas later in the day. Earlier on Saturday, authorities had imposed a national curfew, easing it for 2 hours in the noon to allow people to shop for supplies and complete other chores. While Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has called for talks with protesting students, the government has declared Sunday and Monday as public holidays, with only emergency services allowed to operate. Soldiers continue to patrol the deserted streets of Dhaka, allowing officers to fire on mobs in extreme cases, as clashes over government job quotas have resulted in over 114 deaths this week. In view of the ongoing protests in Bangladesh, the U.S. State Department on Saturday raised its travel advisory to level 4. The State Department also said that it has authorized the voluntary departure of non-emergency U.S. government employees and family members in Bangladesh. A day earlier, the department had urged people to reconsider travel to the country. Nepal's newly appointed Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli will take a vote of confidence in Parliament on Sunday. As required by the Constitution, the newly appointed Prime Minister should take a vote of confidence from Parliament within 30 days of the appointment. KP Sharma Oli, the leader of Nepal's Communist Party, was sworn in as Prime Minister of the Himalayan nation on 14th of July. On the same day, the then Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachand failed to attain a vote of confidence from the House of Representatives, with only 63 votes cast for him to retain the post of the Prime Minister. On Sunday, Prime Minister Oli requires 138 votes in the 275-member House of Representatives to win the vote of confidence. Indian Coast Guard operation to make safe MV Maersk Frankfurt entered its 3rd day on Sunday. Indian Coast Guard ship Varaha joined firefighting efforts earlier on Sunday morning. Ships were engaged in the operation, ensuring protection of the marine environment, safety of the vessel and her crew. Dedicated efforts by ships overnight have suppressed the fire again. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India now. Parts of the National Capital Region experienced heavy rains early on Sunday morning. The Met Department has forecast light to moderate rainfall with thunderstorms in various parts of Delhi. Delhi's maximum temperature recorded at 37.8 degrees Celsius, which was above the seasonal average. The air quality index in Delhi remains in the moderate category. Heavy rains triggered flood-like situation in Odisha's Malkangiri, causing widespread disruption. The torrential downpour, which has persisted for several days, has led to swelling of rivers and streams, inundating low-lying areas and cutting off several villages from essential services. Roads and bridges have been submerged in rains that has hampered transportation. Another batch of pilgrims embarked on the sacred Amarnath Yatra from Pantha Chowk Base camp in Jammu and Kashmir amid heightened security measures. The Yatra started on June 29th and will end on August 19th, lasting 52 days. Devotees of Lord Shiva undertake this arduous annual pilgrimage to the holy cave located in the Kashmir Himalayas. Let's turn focus to other updates now. Israeli forces struck targets in Yemen in a retaliatory strike in which at least 3 have been killed and 87 are injured. The Israel Defense Forces said the fighter jets struck military targets of the Houthi terrorist regime in the areas of Yemen's Hodeidah port on Saturday in what Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said was a direct response to the death of a 50-year-old Israeli in a Houthi drone attack on Tel Aviv on Friday. This is the first time Israel has struck Yemen, according to Israeli officials. As the Israeli forces struck targets in Yemen, fire was seen at various spots. Fire raged in Yemen's Hodeidah port after Israeli fighter jets struck military targets in the area. Post the strike, Israeli military spokesperson said the port had been used by Houthis to receive weapons shipments from Iran. While the Houthi Supreme Political Council said there would be an effective response to the Israeli airstrikes. The strikes on Yemen, as per Israeli officials, come more than after 200 Houthi attacks on Israel.
The Houthis' attacks are acts of aggression, a violation of international law, and a threat to the international peace and security. Today, Israel stepped up its actions in self-defense against these attacks. The Israeli Air Force conducted precise strikes on Houthi military targets in Yemen. The military target was the El Hodeidah port, used by the Houthis as a main supply route for the transfer of Iranian weapons from Iran to Yemen, like the UAV itself that was used in the attack on Friday morning.
From the beginning of the war, I made it clear that Israel would harm anyone who harms us. And so, earlier today, I convened the Political Security Cabinet. I asked them to support the decision I brought to attack the Houthi targets in Yemen. The port we attacked is not an innocent port. It was used for military purposes. It was used as an entry point for deadly weapons supplied to the Houthis by Iran. They used this weapon to attack Israel, to attack the countries of the region, to attack an international shipping lane, one of the most important shipping lanes in the world.
As the Israel-Hamas conflict continues, calls to secure release of hostages are being made. Thousands of Israelis attended weekly rallies in Tel Aviv and other locations across the country on Saturday evening, urging Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to fly to the US when a hostage deal appears to be at hand. Netanyahu is slated to take off late on Sunday for Washington, where he is scheduled to address a joint session of the United States Congress on Wednesday. The Hostages and Missing Families Forum in Israel has launched a campaign demanding Netanyahu to stay in Israel to continue talks with Hamas for a truce in Gaza and the release of the hostages. As per the latest release by the United Nations, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has expressed deep concern over airstrikes earlier today in and around the port of Hodeidah in Yemen. The Secretary General has called on all concerned to avoid attacks that could harm civilians and damage civilian infrastructure. Further, the UN release said that the Secretary General is deeply concerned about the risk of further escalation in the region and has urged all to exercise utmost restraint. Israel's defense forces released a video on Sunday showing strikes on Hezbollah weapons storage facilities in southern Lebanon. Israeli strikes late on Saturday targeted a depot storing ammunition belonging to Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. The strikes on the town of Adlon, about 40 kilometers north of Lebanon's border with Israel, set off a string of loud explosions heard by witnesses across the region. According to the sources, at least 4 civilians in Adlon were wounded in those strikes. You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, Donald Trump holds first campaign rally since assassination attempt, says he took a bullet for democracy. US officials warn of ongoing threats to US critical infrastructure from hackers linked to China. And India faces the United Arab Emirates in a Group A clash of Women's T20 Asia Cup on Sunday.
As the world gears up for the biggest sporting extravaganza, Olympics 2024, we at DD India are all set to bring you reports, reactions and all the latest action from Ground Zero. Watch DD India's super exclusive show, Cheer for Bharat. Only on DD India from July the 22nd at 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT. Get ready to cheer for Indian athletes at the Paris Olympics 2024.
Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India Live. Let's get you more international updates. US Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump, alongside his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, took to the stage at a rally on Saturday. Now, this was Trump's first public rally since the July 13th assassination attempt against him. Addressing the crowd with a flesh-colored bandage covering his right ear, Trump dismissed allegations about his involvement in Project 2025, calling it misinformation.
I don't know what the hell it is. It's Project 25. He's involved in Project, and then they read some of the things, and they are extreme. I mean, they're seriously extreme. But I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it. But what they do is misinformation and disinformation, and they keep saying, he's a threat to democracy. I'm saying, what the hell did I do for democracy? Last week, I took a bullet for democracy. What did I do against democracy? Crazy.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump's vice presidential pick, Ohio U.S. Senator J.D. Vance, ribbed U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris in the rally.
The Vice President, Kamala Harris, she doesn't like me. Kamala Harris said something to the effect that I have no loyalty to this country. Well, I don't know, Kamala. I did serve in the United States Marine Corps and build a business. What the hell have you done? What has she done other than collect a check from her political offices? And we have to give her credit, my friends. She did serve as border czar during the biggest disaster open border that we've ever had in this country. Let's get President Trump back there.
In an interview to Fox News on Saturday, Donald Trump said that nobody forewarned him of a problem in the lead up to the former president's rally in Pennsylvania last week.
He said there was a problem, and I would have waited for 15. They could have said, let's wait for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, something. Nobody said, I think that was a mistake. How did somebody get on that roof, and why wasn't he reported? Because people saw that he was on the roof. I mean, you had Trumpers screaming. The woman in the red shirt, she was screaming, there's a man on the roof. And then other people said, there's a man on the roof who's got a gun. And that was quite a bit before I walked onto the stage.
As tensions continue between Taiwan and China, fears are growing that the U.S. could get pulled into a possible conflict against Beijing that could test the country's cyber defense. American officials have warned of ongoing threats to U.S. critical infrastructure from hackers linked to China. DD India's Ira Spitzer gets us more from San Francisco.
Inside computer networks, cybersecurity threats are lurking. For nations, threats to critical infrastructure like transportation and energy are a major security risk.
So if an adversary can identify and map out critical infrastructures, that can be used, again, as part of a targeting campaign and give them an advantage.
The U.S. believes China is doing just that. Government agencies, including the NSA and FBI, have assessed that Chinese state-sponsored hackers are seeking to pre-position themselves on IT networks for disruptive or destructive cyber attacks against U.S. critical infrastructure in the event of a major crisis or conflict with the U.S. China has dismissed those allegations as baseless. U.S. officials have also warned the cyber threat extends beyond the country's borders.
Our concern has always been that this actor will reach out to other places, particularly U.S. allies or places where U.S. troops are stationed.
Earlier this month, Australia accused Chinese-linked hackers of targeting networks within the country. Those accusations were backed by allies including the U.S., the UK, South Korea, and Japan.
While there may be consensus that this is a major threat, combating it is more difficult, given the complications of overhauling computer networks.
We know what needs to be done. The question is, do we have the political will, the social will, and certainly the financial will to implement the necessary countermeasures?
A recent Supreme Court ruling may make things more difficult. It reduced federal agencies' ability to craft regulations on issues like cybersecurity, meaning it may now be up to Congress to advance legislation to shore up U.S. cyber defenses. Ira Spitzer in San Francisco for DD India.
In the latest updates on the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia said its army destroyed Ukrainian tanks, armed vehicles and also cannons on Saturday. The Russian Defense Ministry said the army repelled multiple offensives in the directions of Kharkiv, Avdiivka, Donetsk, Zaporizhia and Kherson and launched a number of attacks along with disruption of Ukrainian drones, while Ukraine claimed that it had repulsed Russian offensives on the front line. The General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces said the Ukrainian soldiers are going all out to stop the Russians' assaults and also disrupt their action plan. The African Union has adopted a strategy to guide the use of artificial intelligence technology to drive the continent's development. Delegates from across Africa are holding discussions in the Ghanaian capital of Accra at the 6th Africa Union Mid-Year Coordination Meeting. DD India's correspondent Nabil Ahmed Rufai reports on this.
Delegates from the African Union gathered in Accra believe science, technology, engineering and maths or STEM education are key to unlocking the potential of young people and securing long-term high-quality growth for their economies. The AU has adopted a landmark continental artificial intelligence strategy that aims to provide a roadmap on how the technology can be used to promote socioeconomic development in Africa. The strategy outlines how the identity, culture, and dignity of people on the continent can be protected through the ethical use of artificial intelligence. Meanwhile, the organization wants to bolster education and skills training for young people in Africa to prepare them for future work. The AU says it is worried about the teacher deficit on the continent, which is estimated at 15 million. The organization is also looking to mobilize resources to invest in teacher training across member countries to ensure the deficit is reduced. In Accra, Ghana, Nabil Ahmed Rufai, reporting for DD India.
Let's take a look at other updates from across the world that are making it to the headlines. Death toll jumps to 12 after torrential rains caused heavy flooding in northeastern China. Calling the situation grim, Chinese President Xi Jinping urged all-out rescue efforts for flood control. A total of 17 cars and 8 trucks were confirmed to have fallen into the water and 31 people were reported missing. Soldiers conducted search operations along the river, whilst firefighters rescued people trapped in their homes. Malaysia's Coast Guard confirmed that one of their large oil tankers involved in a collision that led to fire had left the location of the accident and was believed to have turned off its tracking system. All the 22 crew members aboard the Hafnia Nile were evacuated and arrived in Singapore on Friday. Discussions are underway with Malaysian authorities to figure out what led to the fire in the tanker. In a heartwarming community initiative in Bolivia, elderly stray dogs are finding much needed care and comfort. The program, spearheaded by local animal welfare organizations, aims to provide shelter, medical attention to senior dogs who have spent their lives on the streets. The initiative has also raised awareness about the importance of adopting older dogs. On to sports now. India will take on UAE in Group A clash of Women's T20 Asia Cup in Dambulla on Sunday with an eye on the semi-final berth. A win can push Indian team firmly towards the semi-final spot. Defending champions India's supremacy was evident in their easy 7-wicket victory over arch-rivals Pakistan on Saturday, while Nepal defeated more fancied UAE by 6 wickets in the tournament opener. The UAE will require a miracle to stop Harmanpreet Kaur's side. The 8 participating teams in the tournament have been divided in 2 groups. The top 2 from each will move to the semis. The summit clash will take place in Dambulla on July 28th. In tennis, former world number 1 Rafael Nadal reached the final of the Swedish Open on Saturday after he battled past Duja Djokovic in the 3-set thriller. Nadal overcame his opponent for 6-6-3, 6-4 in a hard-fought encounter. The 22 times Grand Slam champion advanced to his first final since winning the French Open in 2022. Nadal faces another tough challenge from his opponent after his quarterfinal match. He won the Bastad tournament as a teenager in 2005 and will compete for his 93rd singles title on Sunday. Nadal is using the tournament to prepare for the Paris Olympics. A group of 10 highly skilled dogs from various Indian forces has been deployed in France to ensure the safety and security of different locations during the Paris Olympics. The canine teams, accompanied by their handlers, will be responsible for sniffing and patrolling duties at various event venues. Now, this is the first ever collaboration of canine squads between the Indian and French governments. Hailing the partnership between the two governments, Indian Sports Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia posted on X, and I quote him, "Proud moment for all Indians as our Special Forces 10-member K9 team and 17 handlers ensure top-notch security at the Paris Olympics 2024. This marks the first time an Indian K9 contingent will perform such duties abroad." That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. You can scan the respective QR codes on the screens to download. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.